Welcome, Ron Morrison from Great American. Great to have you here today.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Great American. Tell me a little bit about that company.
Yeah. Great American is the best experience I've had in the industry. I've been there 11 years this
Okay.
past March. Um, just a company that's really focused on doing the right thing, treating people right, and providing a good specialty product in the market at a high level that's really a benefit for the company and the insured as well.
Yeah. So what's your background? You've been to Great American for 11 years.
Been with
So
Great American for 11
how'd you
years.
get into the industry?
Yeah, that's a funny story. I started in the industry in 96. I
Okay.
moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to professional umpire school to become a major league umpire.
Nice.
And I moved from Ohio to North Carolina because the baseball season's longer.
Right.
And the fellow that had an apartment next to me was a claims adjuster, had a free vehicle, and only seemed to work 4 or 5 hours a day. And his company had an opening. And he knocked on my door and says, "Hey, do you want a job?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll interview." So next thing you know, I'm working as a field adjuster for Cincinnati Insurance in 1996 as a multi-line adjuster.
You know, it's
And that,
it's it's funny. I talked to so many people that got their start that way. It's the company car. Same thing with me. I
yep,
started a little bit earlier than you, but not much. Progressive Insurance, and it was the company car.
right.
Coming right out of college, and not making a lot of money, but that Pontiac Sunbird really,
Red,
it
red
was.
Ford Tempo at $19,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
crazy.
great. It was great. So Great American, there's a number of different pieces to the company.
Correct.
And where are you?
Yeah, so we're in the alternative markets division, which is the program division of Great American
Okay.
that focuses on group captives, agency captives, and first dollar programs, ranging from excess programs to and homogenous risks as well. So we have programs from contractor space to wineries and breweries to rural telephone companies, the entire gamut, a couple inland marine programs like
Okay.
that as well.
So you've got to see some pretty interesting claims coming across your desk.
Correct.
You got a good story you can share?
Geez, they're all good. I think the one of the more fun, it was a tragedy in terms of we have a winery and brewery program. So when the wildfires hit the wineries in California in 2017, our property claims leader Adam Yorgis and I were in Napa over 20 times during the wildfires,
Oh wow.
and we were out there. Actually, got out and we got onto a hotel that was behind the safety line, and we look up and we're checking into our hotel, and the mountaintop behind us is on fire. And we were there that early and that on site to help our insurers.
Right.
Adam was terrified the fire was going to hit the hotel, so he never unpacked his bag and was watching the hillside the whole time. I got a really good night's sleep. And then that morning, we were escorted by the police and we actually did on site inspections and we're helping our insureds out at the worst moment of their lives.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some of the properties were still smoldering, but thankfully we were there to help the insureds. We left significant checks with the insureds right on the spot just to show that promise that we're here to commit to you to help rebuild your binary and help you get through this. So, and it was terrifying. Honestly, you go up the canyon and it looked like the end of the world. I remember specifically there was cattle and pens that were deceased and burned
Right.
trying to get out of the pen as you go
Wow.
up to these wineries. But then just living that with our insureds and being there to help them, it was really emotional, but fulfilling and was just a really positive experience at the end to be able to keep an insurance promise like that so instantly and feel the emotional impact of that. And honestly, we made lifelong friends and lifelong clients from that experience as
Oh
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's some amazing, customer service right there. I
Right.
mean, you don't generally get that. I mean, that's so the wildfires, I mean, it's a recurring theme in California. I
Right.
mean, it's year in and year out. I used to live in California, and I mean, back then it was year in and year out, and going back, probably to the beginning of time. I mean, it's a cycle of nature.
Right.
What are some steps that people can take out there, both as an individual or as a business? And also, what do you think the state government should be doing to kind of mitigate some of these risks?
Yeah. To me, it's such a tough position and a tough issue to address, right? Because I think the biggest thing you can do as a property owner is really look at basically what's around your property as to fire benefit and the energy for the fires, right? So all your landscaping, you really want to keep it minimal. All the free debris in terms of dry grasses and the whole 9 yards that way. And then honestly, it's really, really tough in terms of keeping the landscape back. We do a lot of loss control with the wineries and just try to push all the undergrowth away from structures, try to create types of proactive mitigation with water sprinklers. A couple of our insureds even bought fire trucks, right, to respond on scene and that type of thing. So it's really difficult and really proactive. And the problem is the grasses and the energy for the fires growing all the time. So it's a perpetual issue that way for them. And from a governmental point of view, I don't know if it's feasible to have staged burns. California is so big and those canyons are so big.
Yeah.
The problem we had was the canyon risks where the canyons are so steep and fire trucks can't get in there anyways, a lot of places, a lot of times. And just the underbrush is so bad that it's really a tough issue to deal with. So I think that's one of the leading steps. I feel bad for the utility companies from the subrogation point of view.
Right.
Their lines are everywhere. They're here to serve. And then something bad happens, you get an arc and they owe everybody for their negligence to that extent.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in. And it's a tough environment. I mean, we think of California as a beautiful state and a wonderful place to live, and it is, but the weather patterns, and you go from the dry season, which is long,
right,
and you get a bolt of lightning, a careless camper, an arc from a utility, and
hundreds of thousands of acres on
yeah.
fire.
Yeah. So of your clients, what percent actually stayed and rebuilt?
I think the majority of them, all the wineries that we worked with, I don't think any of them went out of business at all. And we probably had 60, 70 claims and probably 10% total losses. And everybody that we worked with came back.
Yeah, so a little
surprising.
Yeah, a little bit different than what we're seeing in the Palisades fires. So right now we're seeing lots of properties are up for sale.
That makes on a residential basis.
Yeah,
that's
if you go in and you're seeing building lots $2-3 million that probably have stunning views, but it's going to take years to rebuild and get permits and all that. And you wonder. I was curious what's happening there. And I talked to some folks, and a lot of people are, taking the money and leaving,
right,
which, might make more sense from a residential than a business standpoint.
Yeah, I think so. And the ground in Napa is obviously so expensive on an acre basis.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But I suppose if you put yourself in the homeowner's shoes and you have to deal with wildfires and traffic and everything else, that they just get exhausted of dealing with it, right?
Yeah.
Take the money and move on. I think that's a reasonable approach.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So what do we're into 2025, a lot of things are, boiling up all over the market. What are some of the trends that you're seeing out there?
Yeah, our focus, we're more a casualty focus right now in our book of business.
Okay.
So I think just the trends with litigation management and just the change in climate from litigation management and the way plaintiff attorneys are situating cases. And I think our focus is really on utilizing data and utilizing technology to try to advance our claims handling to how we think claims are going to be handled in the future,
right,
more than they're been handled in the past. I think we focus ourselves really hard on breaking claims down intelligently, fighting the right cases, and then conducting really proactive investigations, utilizing data and predictive analytics, and trying to get ahead of the big exposures and try to find a compromise before they really have a chance to become nuclear.
Yeah. So we hear a lot about nuclear verdicts,
right,
and they're very real and they're very painful. We also hear a lot about third-party litigation funding.
Right.
And it seems like the two go hand in hand, right? Years ago, it was a lot of these smaller firms couldn't afford to go to trial. Now they can take the risk. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm an old school claims person. So I was raised in equity about making people whole.
Right.
And we've changed to a situation where venture capitalists are investing into litigation now.
Yeah.
So problematic to me in terms of making somebody whole, having a service piece and completing what you owe the process, right? Now you have to be so aggressive and so anticipatory of experts' stories, angles, and plaintiff attorneys are very good business people, and they're going to exhaust every effort they can to maximize their recovery.
Right.
And we have to be just as diligent and just as aggressive to protect our clients and utilize technology, utilize focus groups, anticipate closing arguments, and defend those as aggressively as possible.
No, very good points. One of the things where it seems like the plaintiffs may be further ahead than the defense side of the house is in the world of AI. It seems like a lot of the firms, especially some of the really big business oriented firms, have really leveraged AI to their benefit.
Right.
And it seems like there may be some resistance on the insurance side of the house.
Yeah, I think AI and also just sharing of information amongst plaintiff attorneys as well.
Right.
I think the plaintiff attorneys now collect data on the individual insurance companies, the adjusters and the teams within the insurance companies and divisions. And I believe from some of the research we've done, plaintiff attorneys have basically a playbook on how we negotiate to the extent of our individual negotiations. And the utilization of AI, I think there's less compliance for them. They're not obviously publicly held companies, and they don't have to basically conform with governmental regulation. And I think the utilization of AI allows them, with programs like Even Up, to be much more efficient than the defense side. So that they can review medical records and create demand packages using AI that we still need labor and intensive review with on a manual basis.
Yeah,
It's tough.
And you bring up an interesting point in that the plaintiff attorneys do talk, right? I mean, just like we're having a insurance, focused conference here, there's a plaintiff focused one somewhere else.
Right.
And you bring up a good point about the sharing of information. If we're to do that, we're guilty of antitrust.
Right.
If they do it, they're not held, there's no accountability. And it seems like there should be something from a regulatory standpoint that if we're going to be held to a certain standard, so should they.
Right.
You think that'll ever happen?
I do hope it does. I think there's a universal data standard that we as an industry can create that doesn't create antitrust or proprietary data to be shared.
Right.
But I think from a litigation metric point of view, in terms of a universal standard that allows us all to share our litigation data as to zip codes, as to volatility of jurisdictions, even as to experiences and settlement ranges with different firms that on the plaintiff side, that will start to be shared, and we'll realize that data will really help us granulate better projections and be more proactive and balance the playing field that way, hopefully. I think it's a C-suite thing as well, in terms of we have to protect ourselves from the antitrust piece. And as soon as there's any sharing of data that would be questioned,
right,
there's going to be litigation from shareholders against carriers.
Oh yeah,
compromising
absolutely.
Interest, right?
Yeah, it's
it's a tough position to be in.
It is, yeah, and you got to keep the lawyers employed. So
That's right.
it seems like there's always a little cat and mouse fight going on. So where do you think we're going to be in 5 years?
That's a great question, and we're trying to figure that out. So I think where we're going to be is we'll be in a more sharing dynamic. I think you're going to see more intimate relationships with defense firms and carriers. That I think one thing COVID and then technology is creating for us is that you don't have to hire attorneys in the cities and in the zip codes to handle defense cases.
Right.
Right. And I think that the shareholder, or the duty to the shareholder to be economically efficient, is going to create new models of relationship between defense firms and carriers that's going to be more focused on outcome based than the hourly bill base.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. And I think that's going to it's going to put pressure on smaller boutique defense firms to be competitive because of overhead. But I think that there's a reinvention of that relationship, and it's going to require defense firms to be enculturated with the carriers so that they're on the same page, and then find a way of compensation that's just and outcome based, where defense firms and vendors with insureds are compensated according to the outcome, which in some cases will be more than they're used to. In other cases, maybe a little less.
Right. Sure. And it makes sense.
Right.
It makes perfect sense. So if someone wanted to learn more about Great American, where would they go?
Sure. I'm available at any time. We obviously have a great website that explains about all our 36 different divisions and has a breakdown with contact information at gaig.com, I believe.
Okay.
and everything's very open for all to explore and investigate all the things we do to service and take care of our insureds.
Great. Well, Ron, thank you so much for stopping by. It
Oh, it's
was
a pleasure.
great to see you and a good discussion. And if anyone would like to be a guest on our podcast, hop over to subrowIQ.com and hit the podcast button.